Jay Bills from Media Spotlight UK, and I'm here with boxing coach extraordinaire Marvin in the building. How are you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling good, yeah, it's feeling good. Just got here about an hour ago. We've already done our workout, our public workout. So he looks good, he looks sharp. He looks sharper than I thought actually as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing good. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. Obviously, a long trip to get from London to Newcastle.
A long trip. It was from Manchester. It was only what 2.5, maybe 3 hours for us.
Oh, it's good. Oh, yeah, good for living in Manchester. There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, firstly, like you've seen how Fit Misfits have been going. I know, obviously, you work with people from Off Script as well.
Yeah.
You guys have been doing a lot of content together, so that's how I've known about you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're Callum Izzard'S trainer as well.
Yeah.
So, how's this whole world for you in terms of you've been training pro fighters before, but now obviously influencer boxers is a new world. How's that for you?
It's interesting. I'm not against it at all. Yeah, I'm not against it at all in terms of being, as a boxing guy myself, I'm not like, oh, it's nothing, but it's a complete different world. I understand this is boxing with entertainment at the forefront, whereas boxing is boxing and we're trying to entertain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, it's new, it's opened up new eyes, there's more connections, more people to meet, and just get to more shows. So yeah, it's all good for me.
So of course, obviously, you're seeing the open workouts today. You're seeing a lot of people. How good does it feel to be connecting with different fighters? And obviously, Callum Izzard, is a byproduct of being in the influencer space.
Yeah.
You get to train him. How's that for you in that respect?
Yeah, it's just all new. It's all new. Like I said, in boxing, to get to the highs, you've got to do a lot to get there, and it's without knocking it down. A lot of these guys have done a lot outside. That's got them to the same level. Because this event here is what you'd get a Joshua event looking like. So it's just good to catapult that.
Yeah.
Because as much as I'm in boxing, I'm still starting as a professional myself. So I'm only here boxing, and now as much as I train fighters, I've gone boom just through his status.
Because it's interesting, obviously, for example, Daily Perales, who trains King Kenny, Deji, but obviously his background is pro boxing.
Yeah.
And he's always been doing that, and we can see the passion in him in terms of how he trains his fighters.
Yeah.
Is it a similar way to you in terms of knowing your pro boxing background? Is it a way that when you take influencers on, that you treat them in the same way as how you would, train your pro boxers?
Yeah, that's one of the things. I worked with Callum a little bit for his first fight near the end of it, and then this fight again, he was working with someone else, and he's just come to me for the last 4 weeks, and then I'm going to take him on going forward. But I said to him, I was like, right, Callum, now if I'm legit your coach, I'm not just a padman assistant helping you out. You're going to get trained like a pro boxer. So don't expect everything just to be pads. I'm not just going to sit there and just do pads for an hour every day, because that's not pro boxing. Some days I'm going to sit there and watch in the bag and tell you no. I'm going to tap you down, no. And that's pro boxing. You've got to learn the hard way, because I'm like, he's got a good opportunity here. If he does it right, his level will just go like that, where all these other guys are still in the midst of being an influencer. You know what I mean? So if he can kind of train his mindset to be like, I'm an influencer when I'm an influencer, but when I'm boxing of any sort, I'm boxing, I'm a pro boxer. I'm putting everything on the line. And that's the kind of mindset we've got to try and create.
You're very vocal. I've seen a lot of the content with Off Script, and when it comes to opinions of people that have been training in the influencer world, you're very vocal and very very honest about how fighters will be trained and stuff how their performances are is that being from the pro boxing world going into this, and you're seeing that and being they got, some people got a long way to go. I don't know. What do you think?
That's my coach. So my coach tells me I'm shit every day. My coach is I've got to do to get a compliment. A compliment of my coach is nothing. So when I say it, I don't mean the shit. It's easy to say you're shit than explain why you're not good. If that makes sense.
Because then there's a lot more you can work through rather than getting compliments all the time.
Yeah, if I've got to turn around to you and say, oh, you're not bad, but you're not good because blah, 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 you've only been doing it for 8 months, and your hand drops down when you jab, you're still blinking when you're getting punches your way, then I've got to explain a lot of stuff. I might as well turn around and say, you're shit compared to a proper professional boxer. These guys are living a professional boxing life, and they're getting treated better than I'm getting treated, or the professional boxers that I train with. So you've got to take it both ways. If you're not at that level, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just gonna say to you, It's soft.
It's soft. No, you're this, you're that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're good. Like I let people know when they are good, and I let you know when you're not. Like when you're not. I'm like it's soft. Just walk, because a lot of people you can just take away the facade and just walk up to them and just get them out there. Because when you're not on that level, you're not on that level, and there's just levels to everything.
And of course, obviously, you know, Callum Izzard is facing OJ Rose this Saturday. Obviously, we know OJ Rose had his last fight with Kimbo Slice Jr.
Yeah.
That was his last fight. How do you compare that as far as, like, you know, for OJ Rose to come into the ring with someone that you train? How do you think things will be different in that respect? And how do you think that, Callum will, work through in this fight with OJ?
Yeah, well, in all fairness as well to all the fighters, they're all learning on the job. So as much as they like to get in front of the camera and be like, this, that, like, I'm a realist, they're both going to get in there, they're both going to be nervous, and they're both just going to try and either fight or flight. Callum has got skills though, like, not just saying it because he's a fighter, he's very explosive, he's just got natural abilities as an athlete. So when it comes to adding that to the boxing, it's like picking up things really quickly. So I'm hoping he can just retain as much as he can for the fight, and it goes from there. I've got feelings though, because he is good, and I guess he does pack a bit of power in the punch.
And I wanted to get your opinions, because I know you're very vocal about certain things.
No bullshit from me, Joe.
Well, no filters. Obviously, of course, like the Prime card's coming up.
Yeah.
KSI versus Tommy Fury. Dylan Dennis versus Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Obviously, I believe that you would have seen it all play out in terms of the press conference, their face-to-faces. How do you see it in your opinion, as far as like how these fights are set up?
I got you. Logan Paul smashes it. Logan Paul is the fight of the night. I reckon Logan Paul's been grinding in the scene, because I think he's been beat by KSI twice now. So he's gonna, and his Dylan Dallas never comes correct. You can tell by his shape, he looks a bit soft, he looks a bit flabby. And in all fairness, he's like a bit like Ben Askren, he's not a striker. So I think Logan has again got natural ability, he's gonna look really good. With KSI, I'm always a little bit skeptical, because he is the head of Misfits, so I don't know if they'll let him lose so early, but then again, he's fighting Tommy Fury, and I thought that with Jake Paul, when he beat Jake Paul. If that's the same card, I think Tommy Fury beats him. It's just size matters, and I think Tommy Fury as well is going to be a little less nervous from the first fight, and then it should be able to, I reckon it's probably an easier fight for him.
Obviously, based on his last fight with Jake Paul, obviously going into this space with KSI, he's had experience of, fighting, a big top influencer that's had a lot of extensive fights.
Yeah.
How does the mentality become different for Tommy Fury in this case? Because obviously Jake is a different opponent to KSI.
Yeah. The thing with Jake and KSI though is I think they're both, because they're at the top of the game in terms of like influencing and boxing influencers. I think they truly believe they're good. So I feel like he's already fought a carbon copy, and I think Tommy Fury would have had a lot of doubt in his head, like, can this guy really beat me? And now he's beat him, I think we're like, you know what, it's a whitewash. Because as a pro boxer looking at all these, I could go round after round after round with all of them. So once you know that as levels, if I walked to the gym and seen any of these, I could do 4 rounds of him and do 4 rounds of many people in this room. So now he's had the confidence that he can beat one of them. Now I think he's going to be able to like really set down and like maybe go for the knockout. And
interesting that just come into my head, King Kenny versus Ante Taylor.
Yeah.
Obviously, a pro boxer.
Yeah.
That's stepping in with King Kenny.
Yeah.
Now King Kenny has had he's become a beast, even more of a beast, especially within the Kingpin tournament. Obviously, we know, that led from his fight with Ashley Raksu to get to the point that now he's, we know how Daly trains, and he's got that passion.
Coach.
So obviously, there's been this debate about pro boxers fighting influencer boxers.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you look at that in terms of that? And in terms of this fight in particular, like, how do you see it play out, knowing both the histories?
Yeah, if you're gonna let pro boxers fight his influence, let me. I'll fight 3 or 4 back to back, happily, and like entertain you to the max. I don't think it should be right though, because a proper bull boxer, and I don't class Anthony Taylor as like a proper one, because a proper bull boxer should just walk through these. Like a true fighter who's got like a bit of a pedigree, knows what he's doing, he's got a good IQ, should walk through these. They should walk through these. In terms of how it goes, what you're going to find is especially with good coaches like Daly, who's obviously Kenny's brother, so he's treating him even higher and like no bullshit.
For sure.
As we're getting into like the 3rd and 4th and 5th year of influencer boxing, they're going to start getting better. So as you can see, Kenny's last fight, all the things are going to start to come out where they're not influence boxing no more, because they have been training for pro boxing now for like 2 years.
That's true.
So you are going to get him getting better in the next year or so.
Because obviously he will have that exposure being around pro boxers in the gym.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably getting levered in the gym by pro boxers, or he's getting shown skills and IQs and all that kind of stuff. But as you get within years and years and years, because I think these are probably learning it the hardest way, because they've got to perform when they're not good in front of fucking millions of people. So by the time they get good, their nerves are already under control. They probably already know how to control the nerves anyway, just from doing the things they do from the YouTube and the life, because they're around this kind of camera and all that. But a lot of pro boxers are not. We're in our gym training like fucking animals, and then we get here and it's like, oh shit, we've got to do it now in front of the cameras. So it's a bit, they're doing it the hard way, they're getting it all in. So.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that's going on within this scene, and obviously, you know, excited to see Izzard'S versus Aaron Chalmers, and you know, a lot of the fighters that are coming into this sort of space. So, you know, where do you see the future of influencer boxing? Because obviously now, like, it's been a year since this happened, and being a pro boxing coach yourself, where do you see the future of it going?
I see it going, it just grow, because the thing is, it's got its own audience. So yeah, you've got a few boxing people watching the shows, but in all fairness, each individual is bringing their own audience. So as long as they bring their own audience, which they will, because they're watching them for them, it'll just keep going and growing and growing. I think when they start beating actual, because I don't think an actual pro boxer has been beat as an actual pro boxer, a good pro boxer. Like, not even a good one, like, I don't think one's been beat. Yeah, UFC fighters and maybe, yeah, but when they actually beat a pro boxer, that's when it's going to then try and take the next level. If, let's say, you get Jake Paul beating, I can't say Canelo, but you know, some version of a Canelo, or let's say a C-Tech Canelo, and it actually is a fair 50-50 fight and he was the underdog, then you're going to be like, wow, where we can go there, and then if they're staying long enough, let's go for some belts.
Well, I mean, you're very vocal about what you know, and I'm glad I got to meet someone that obviously knows the pro boxing game and appreciates the influencer boxing space. But yeah, no filter with you, so it seems.
Oh, defo, man, defo. Like I said, flipping. What is it? Who's the main card again?
Prime card.
Yeah, I know in this one.
So Izzard'S versus Aaron Chalmers.
It's like Izzard'S is fighting Aaron Chalmers. Like, he best win him. Jesus Christ, because he's a pro boxer. Like, if he loses, then he's going to be the first pro boxer to lose. So in all fairness, let's go Aaron. Let's go Aaron, because if I was Izzard'S, I'd be smoking these guys, 100%.
Well, I'll leave you to it anyway. Like, pleasure to meet you, Marvin. And I know that you get a lot of exposure with Offscript, and obviously, like, I know the guys from building up their channel, and now I've got to meet the pro boxing coach himself. Thank you so much for taking the time, brother.
Bless.